if life is lifing, or maybe you're battling imposter syndrome, or sometimes you get what you're after and sometimes you don't, you're doing this cha-cha, then this series is for you. Hi, if you're new to me, my name is Raquel, and I'm your GPS for success. What is the one thing that will fix all of that? It is this secret. And it's very simple, but we don't do it because we're not taught to. And everything you want is on the other side of this. You are one, just one, embodied thought away from what you want. Is that it? Yes, that's it. But I want to focus on a specific area that's really the foundation to all of this, and that is how you see yourself. We're told in the good book that you will prosper and be in health as your soul, which is your mind, your will, and your emotions prosper. It's soul prosperity that gets you there. We're never going to go any farther than how we see and feel about ourselves, because that's the way we're wired to succeed. And so we can be looking at different pieces of our lives, trying to become something specific, right? You probably heard about that, right? You need to become one with that thing. Act as if you are already that person. But how are you going to act like that person if you don't even know what that feels like? If you don't even know how to embody that? If you don't even know what to do in order for you to become that person? And so the effort is made in the will, is in pushing, is in hustling, is in trying to emulate the people around you who, even though they might be living out what you desire, you have not embodied that for yourself and seen that for yourself. So the series is going to be around helping you really connect with your identity of who you really are and leverage those things for you. And so today is around this thought. And this is the main concept. You are one embodied thought away from what you want. That's it. So how do you get to that embodiment? One of them, which we'll go into more details tomorrow, is around real meditation, the meditation that actually works for you, which is really great if you have ADD, ADHD, squirrel brain, multi-passionate. You're going to love tomorrow's or the next day's day 2 of this series. The series, again, is around understanding that you're made for more. So why does this work? Because this is how everybody is wired to succeed. You're wired to live out of your thoughts. Thoughts do not become things. Thoughts internalize, materialize. So sometimes people hear about frequency and vibes and, trying to get clearings and all these other things. But the truth is that it's not woo-woo, it's not mystical, it's just science. It's just the way you have been wired to succeed. And the way you're wired to succeed is embodying a thought. So what does that do? That's your belief system. You change your belief system, everything then changes. So how do you change your outcomes? By embodying the thought of what you want on the other side of that. So why does this work? It's just a genius of God that tells us to cast down and be vain and wicked imagination that is coming against the knowledge of God. What is the knowledge of God? Anything that is good and pure and perfect, it has any virtue, if it has any praise, we are to think on those things. We're also told to commit our works to him and he will establish his thoughts for us. And that's in the King James in Proverbs 16. So now we understand through neuroscience and epigenetics the genius of that. It is because, our reticular, you might know this, right? The reticular eye system, when you're focusing, it then sends a signal to your subconscious. It says, oh, is this the target? Is this what we're looking at? And you're already doing that by default. But now this is about doing it by design, by purposely hitting that target through embodying the thought, because that's all it is. What happens is that you have a belief system, and your belief system is the filter. That's your perception. When something happens, that perception is already there. And then you're going to take a thought about it. It's then based on how you're feeling about yourself in that moment. And you know how it is. Sometimes, you feel good about yourself. You're like, I can take over the world. And other days you're like, wah, wah, maybe not so much. And then depending on how you're seeing yourself in that moment, or how you see yourself in, not comparison, but to that circumstance, you're going to have a thought about it. And then because of the thought clusters, you have chemical chaos or chemical bliss. And then that causes emotions, right? They just flare up. And then based on your emotions, you're going to do or not do something. And then that creates the outcome. So people will say thoughts become things. Yes and no, because not every thought becomes a thing. I was reading in Facebook today, and one of the ladies had posted on my feed that it's the thoughts that you resonate with that become your reality. That's also not true. It's not accurate, because it's the thoughts that you're internalizing. Yes, you might resonate with something at first because that's part of your belief system. However, only because you resonate with something doesn't mean that you're going to make that your reality. What's the bridge? The bridge there is the embodiment. So think about, right, the seed, time, and harvest. So that thought that comes across, right, that suggestion, that idea that comes across, you might resonate with it. But if you don't take it for your own, if you don't start to embody it, you can resonate with it and be like, yes, I believe that, I want that. But then because there's no embodiment of it, you're not taking the time to nurture it, right? That's the time. And the time could be, it could be a few minutes. It could be, it might take you a few days. It might take you a few weeks. It might take you a few months, right? We have habits that we have created that now we have to reverse. And so depending on what's happening with you in the moment, the time is going to pass anyway. So there's a bridge of time, a couple seconds or a couple months that you're nurturing it, and then you have harvest. So everything that's happening right now, your personal outcomes of what you're doing, the root of that is just the thoughts that you have been thinking about and running in your mind and in your subconscious the last 60 or 90 days. So do thoughts become things? Not automatically. They have to be taken in and believed. Do the thoughts that you resonate with, do they become reality? No. And you know that because you've experienced that. You're in this place and you feel like this rah-rah, you're in this support system. And as long as you're around that atmosphere, you're like, yes. But what happens as soon as you don't have that support? And this is a way for you to create that support system for yourself. Now, do you need a support system? Yes, we are created to be interdependent. We are social. We've been created to be social beings. Even if you call yourself an introvert, like most of the people who are my besties are introverts, except when they're around me. Then they're like completely extroverted, right? We are not created to be lone wolves. We're created for community. We're created to have these like family kinds of ties. That's how we thrive, and that's how we, end up really having even more. The things that come are even bigger and better than we've dreamed of. However, the other side of that is that we have to take personal responsibility. And what is responsibility? It's just the ability to respond. We have the personal responsibility. We have the ability to respond with our thought, the thing that comes up. Most of the time, the circumstances are just neutral. Obviously, like not extremes of essays or being abused or anything like that, physically abused. Outside of that, most things, let's say a bill comes up, right? And you're like, how am I going to pay this? A bill comes up, that's just neutral. The bill is the bill. It doesn't have any feelings and it has no meaning except that what we attach to it. So we have a circumstance that comes up and based on our perception, especially about ourselves in the moment. And again, that can change, right? And you've already have lived this out where sometimes something comes up and you're like, that doesn't even bother me. It's just like water off a duck's back. I've got this. And other times, depending on your mood or how you feel about yourself in the moment, it's a little bit of a struggle. So this is proof that it's already working. You're just not doing it by design. And so when that comes up, we get the opportunity to then grab that thought, to cast it down, to change it, to decide only because I'm resonating with this. And this is one of the things I talked about before in the past, is that resonance doesn't mean anything. Sometimes we're like, oh, well, that's really resonating with me. It doesn't mean anything except agreement. That's it. And the more power you give to your resonance, that could be the reason why you're going into this cha-cha. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Going into imposter syndrome or anything else is not changing your life because you're like, well, I'm doing these things that resonate. Resonance doesn't mean anything except that there is some kind of agreement. There's some kind of belief system in you in the moment that's saying yes to it. That's it. And once you know that, and now that you know that, and you accept that, then you can use resonance as leverage. Like, okay, what is a thought that I want to have about myself? who do I say I am? And for me, as a Jesus lover, it's like, what does God say about me? Because in spite of how I feel about myself, he's the one who's given me my identity. And for those of you who are Jesus lovers or Jesus appreciators, find out what he says about you. He says that, through Jesus, we are flawless to him, that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. We're all, whether we believe in that or not, are that's my belief system. We're all image bearers. We're all made in the image and likeness of God, which means that we have been created to function like him. We have been created to think like him, to grab his thoughts, to be open to grabbing his thoughts and establishing that, setting that firm in our lives so that we can have divine results. Because all the thoughts that he has toward us are good for an expected end of success. So if you are not having success in certain areas of how you feel about yourself, any weight loss, looking for jobs. Like when I was in the job market, I retired myself in 2019. But prior to that, it didn't matter what the economy was doing. If I wanted a new job, I would have one within 2 weeks. And it was always more money than what I was getting paid for. And it always was more money, more opportunity. It was always more. It did not matter. Why? Because to me, I knew who I was. I knew what I brought to the table. And it got to the point where in Chicago, my resume was like gold. Like I had all these recruiters who wanted to find work for me because it was easy money for them. Because of my reputation and the outcome of my work, but it was because I knew who it was. I knew that I can learn anything quickly. I knew that I can make things better. I knew that I can see patterns. I knew that I can create easy systems. I knew that I can connect with people. And so I always got the most in whatever team I was in, and bonuses and all this other stuff, because I knew what I brought to the table. And you have also experienced these kind of things as well. Maybe it wasn't a work, but maybe it was with a relationship, right? Once you start to see yourself differently, you organically create those boundaries. You organically start saying yes to the things you need to say yes to and no to the things you need to say no to. It's all organic. You've already been doing it. And this series is going to really help you to connect with the truth of who you are. You're a badass. You were created to be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. You were created on purpose for a purpose. You were created that every day there are good works for you to walk in and to complete them. It's like a checkoff list. It's already there. But sometimes we can't see it because we're under the pressure of life be lifing, or distracting us, or our body is screaming, or, we're so focused on the outcomes that's like that saying, right? We're missing the forest for the tree. We're so focused on that one thing. But if you change your focus, if you change the thought to something that is positive and true, that is based on the divine truths, and there is a thing as divine truth, right? For me, truth is in Jesus to me. So what does he say? What does the word say about your life? What does the good book say about your life? That you are made on purpose. You're beautifully and wonderfully made. And that everything you do is to prosper. That there are things that have been set up for you in order for you to prosper, for you to connect with. But you need to first embody the thought. Resonance against doesn't mean anything except for a belief system. And maybe you're like, oh, it is confirmation bias. There are things that we inherited as belief systems that actually are not for our highest good. And before we start releasing people saying, well, they're not for my highest good and they're not serving me. Nobody's here to serve you. Like, who are we to think that people are here to serve us? They're not. We serve each other. And we know that in business, that the one who serves the most is the one who's going to make the most money. So if you want to make more money, you serve more people. Well, that's one of the ways where you can have more money. It all comes back to that. To your soul prosperity. In order for you to prosper, you need to prosper your soul, your mind, your mindset, your will. Your will is the driver. You can use that to kind of force it in the beginning, but you are always going to go back to your default. So think about it like your brain is at 70 degrees and you want it at 72. You can push it to 72. You can hustle there. But as soon as you go back to neutral, it goes back to 70. Why? Or like in your low days, it'll go 68, but it's going to come back to 70 because that's your set point. Change your set point and everything else around you starts to change. You're already doing it. This time we're going to do it by design. And I'm going to help you doing different modalities around your identity in order for you to really, and some people call it like Self-help, right? Or self-love. Yes. Because a lot of people like to quote, well, we're supposed to, love our neighbors. That's not what it says. It says love our neighbors as ourselves. So this is part of that as well. You can call it self-love. You can call it identity. You can call it made for more. You can call it releasing imposter syndrome. There's a lot of different things, but it's all the same. And whatever thought that you are embodying, and you have been embodying for the last 60 or 90 days, it was causing the emotion to give you the action or non-action that's giving you the outcome. It is only your thoughts. And that's the good news, because that means you can take your power back. That means you have the ability to respond to the thoughts and be like, why am I resonating with that? Do I want that reality? And even if that's the only thing you take away for today, is that when a thought comes, you're like, I'm resonating with that, to pause and think, because thinking is your real gift. Oh, I resonate with that. Why? And do I want that reality? Because sometimes we're resonating with things and we don't even want that reality. We're just like, yeah, girl, you're just, misery loves company. They start bitching about things, and then you're there bitching about it too. Do you actually want to continue to perpetuate that in your life? Is that the reality that you want? Yeah, it feels good in the moment. You're resonating with it because maybe you're pissed off too, or you're seeing that in your life. But complaining about it only gives you more to complain about, because of the way we're created. Our reticular system, our eyes, like, oh, is that your target? Is that where you're focusing on? Your subconscious kicks in, which is running 95% of your actions. Say, oh, is this what you're focusing on? Then let's give it to you more. Let's give you more to think about. Let's give you more to bitch about. Let's give you more to complain about. Let's give you more reasons why you are in that reality and you're stuck there. You have the ability to respond. And that is the good news. The good news is that you could take your power back today by choosing, you know what? Today is the first day of the rest of my life. And I am going to choose a different path. And you can. You can. If you're ready to rewrite your story, then I invite you to join us in the society, where you get to meet with me twice a month in our group setting. And you also get 24/7 asynchronous coaching. What does that mean? That means you get to send me a text to either a number or through the portal, and then I will coach you through that, because you do need support. I have a whole bunch of resources that'll help rewire your brain, rewrite your story. But what I found is that the resources are great, but at some point you need help. At some point you need to talk to somebody who understands what you're going through and can help you root out the thought that is actually keeping you bound. If it is the truth that sets you free, it is a lie that keeps you captive. And then we all have lies that we believe. If you have not gotten what you wanted, it's simply because there's a lie that you believe. That's it. And what is a lie? It is words, it is thoughts, it is a story. And the more you replay that story, the stronger it is. Those are the strongholds. But you can dismantle them. You can take your power back today. So also check out the rest of the videos in this podcast, The Daily Shift. I have so many things already in there. There's probably something that you can start with if you don't want to join us in the society. But society is amazing because you're always getting new resources, new things to rewrite your story, to hack your mind. You have a community of people who are just like you, who want more because they understand that they're made for more. And they know that there has to be some kind of system in place to be successful. And there's so many different things that I have there to assist you to create the systems. You need a system that you can do every single day. I call it the 1% solution, where you're investing in yourself less than 1% of your day, which is less than 15 minutes. That's all it takes. Is that all it takes? That's all it takes. It's a compound effect. We all know that compound effects. We all know about mutual funds. Create your own mutual fund by investing in yourself 1% at least, minimally. You're still going to see a huge shift. And if you want to go faster, that's when you get more help. Can you do it without the help? Absolutely. But the benefit of having somebody in your corner is you have somebody in your corner. All right, loves. Until next time, which will be very, very soon. May God's riches and best be yours. Bye now.